Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Gabby Hour. I'm your host, Gabby Giselle. And on today's podcast episode, I'm very excited because I have played a little bit of like investigator, okay? I have done a little bit of research, okay? I used Google, not ChatGPT, by the way. And I have a topic today that I'm very excited to talk about, but first, I wanted to just say hello, hi. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. This is the podcast where we yap for an hour about just about anything. I tell funny stories from my past. I talk about certain topics. I discuss certain internet discourse as well as current events and pop culture. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, go ahead and stick around. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure to follow us for behind the scenes and bonus clips on Instagram as well as on TikTok. And then follow my personals. I also have a vlog channel where I do a lot of reading vlogs. If you couldn't tell, I'm into reading and books. We're currently sitting in my reading nook, but I also do like lifestyle content and just rant overall all over my social medias. As you can tell, I literally don't know how to shut the hell up. So let's just get right into it. So today's topic, sorry, let me pull up my notes because I've got notes. All right. Today's topic, I want to talk about something that came up on my feed recently, okay? And that was this video of this girl. I'm going to see if I can find a screenshot. I'll insert it somewhere on the screen here if I can find it. But I saw this TikTok of this girl who's probably in her mid-20s, right? Maybe early 20s, but she was giving like mid-20s vibes. And she was talking about how difficult she's finding it to make friends, right? Because in the past, her friends have burned her, and anybody she tries to be friends with only really want to be friends with her for certain things that benefit them, never really to just like hang out with her, and they don't really seem to like her. She's like really having this very vulnerable moment online. And you know, I'm watching the video and I'm like literally shedding tears because I feel like this is something that so many people nowadays experience, and I do too. And like I do have friends, and I know that like all my friends who watch the podcast, hi, hello, I love you, but a lot of my friends, you know, are very much adult friends in the sense of like, I think there's a big difference between friends when you're younger and friends as an adult, and having the realization that some people keep their younger friends forever, and they always have that sort of like younger friendship where you spend all your time together, you're never sick of each other, you bicker like siblings, you do everything together, you're attached at the hip, versus the adults version of friendship, which I think is very much, you know, two people who live their own lives and have their own things going on, and so they don't always see each other, but when they do, you know, they enjoy each other's company, they have really good conversation. But it's not like back in the day when you're in high school and you could talk for hours about life with your friends, like, and there was so much to say. And you know, I almost feel that we have this sense of exhaustion when it comes to the idea of making friends, especially in adulthood, because we have so many things going on. I mean, especially with the way that like the economy is, especially in the United States, and I'm sure across the globe, but specifically in the States, you know, here people have to maintain 3 jobs to pay their rent. And it's like, how do you have time to make friends in between? Because you have 3 jobs and then you have to make time for yourself, right? Like to take care of yourself. And sometimes it feels more exhausting to go out and do hobby things. Like I love to play pool, so I like to play in pool tournaments. I play in one pool tournament on Saturdays. It's literally just like a very chill environment. It's not a league or anything like that. But like, you know, I go there and I like to play pool. But even when I go there, it's almost like I know a bunch of people, but they're not my friends. And so I was really relating to her video, and it's really sad to listen to her because she seems to have a very difficult time making friends and maintaining friends. And that's something that I think so many people across the board, no matter how old you are, can relate to. So that really like lit a fire under my ass to try and figure out what it is that why is it so hard as an adult, and is this something that like has always been this way? Because, you know, I know a lot of people, especially like Gen Xers and millennials who don't seem to have as hard of a time to maintain social relationships and friendships in person because, they tend to make a lot of time for that sort of thing, or they seem to have a lot of time for that sort of thing. And of course, we have, again, economic pressures that mean Gen Z has to, work 10 times as hard to make the same salary that their parents made at 18 while they are in their mid to late 20s, right? Like, it is extremely difficult to be successful in life and also have friends. And a lot of like the entrepreneur grinding, the hustle culture, right? In that culture, it is very predominant that you're going to be alone and you have to be okay with being alone, right? And it's like, okay, cool, great. But then at the same time, they're telling you have to network with people and make friendships. And like, don't just network with people to use them for their connections, but make meaningful connections with them. But it's like, at the same time, you're telling me that I shouldn't be wasting my time hanging out with people. Like, it is a very weird thing, right? And so a lot of young people fall into that, especially young people who are trying to be financially successful, because you have to do dramatic shit like that nowadays in order to see an eighth of the success that our parents saw at our age. And so it is one, economic, but also when we look at, and this is what I saw in my little research. So there's this group called like the Cigna group, research group, and they did a study that shows that millennials and Gen Z are more lonely than Gen X and boomers. However, Gen X and boomers tend to experience higher risk for like mental health problems due to loneliness, whereas millennials and Gen Z tend to have the tools or things to help them through that loneliness. So for example, like when you think of a it said something about, let's see, 67% of Gen Zers say that they have experienced a sense of loneliness. 65% of millennials have experienced a sense of loneliness. Gen Xers is 60% and boomers is 44%, right? So although those generations, those two older generations, seem to experience less loneliness, the same amount of people, like if you take the same amount of lonely Gen Xers and boomers as you took lonely millennials and Gen Z, there would be more mentally ill people and people incapable of handling that loneliness in the older generation than there would be in the millennials, especially in millennials. Millennials tend to be the most, like resilient, right? And then there was this whole graph, because I like read the research paper, and there was this whole graph that showed, when you see millennials, there's this, I'll see if I can get it on the screen, but there's all these different events that have happened, especially economically. Like they've experienced two economic crashes in their lifetimes, right? Like in 2008, when a lot of them were, growing up, starting to come out of college, or starting to come out of high school, going into college, right? Trying to find a job. There was a lot of uncertainty. There's also with 2020, right? In 2021, again, another housing crisis, a big sort of economic crash that happened in 2021, and they've seemed to have continued to be resilient. And in the research paper, it said that millennials tend to be resilient to this because of the way that their culture is. They tend to prioritize health, wellness, mental health, and as also like social relationships. They tend to volunteer more in their communities. They tend to join more community events and attend more community events, versus Gen Z. Gen Z's problem is that we don't, right? And so and when you look up like Gen Z, loneliest generation, whatever, there's a myriad of statistics and tons of different studies that you can see. But there's this one line in this paper that was saying like who Gen Z is, right? And I wanted to read this to you because I found this very interesting as a Gen Z person to see this and kind of be like, okay. But it says Gen Z is the generation of individuals born since 1997 with no set endpoint as of 2019. This generation makes up 27% of the U.S. population and is regarded by some as the largest and most ethnically diverse generation in U.S. history. Individuals born during this generation are said to be the first raised with the internet and social media. And I bring this up, okay, to kind of like go off topic a little bit. When I talk to people, especially about politics, I know a lot of Gen Z people who feel so hopeless and don't lack confidence in their own government that they don't vote. Right? Like they don't vote because they don't even believe in it, because we've grown up in a world, right? I mean, my first president was Obama, right? Like obviously not technically because Bush would have been my first president, but I was a child. But 2004 to 2008, and then 2008 to what? 2012. Wait, no. Am I doing math? I'm not doing math correctly. 2008, Obama's in office. 2012, Obama's in office. And then 2016, we just see like a whole switch, right? And whether or not you're Republican or Democrat or you're Libertarian or whatever, you were flooded. Like I remember in 2016 being like 16 years old, and understanding like that the political system with which I live in has failed me, right? Like immediately. I've already learned this. I'm already very much aware of this. And I find that to be very interesting. And I would love to see if there's some studies done about that, about how politically aware certain generations are. But I feel that, for Gen Z, I almost don't remember a time where I wasn't aware about politics. Like I'm sure that there was a time, but again, like middle school, elementary school, but like being a conscious, functioning, like sort of semi-intelligent being from like high school and then on, I've been very much aware of the fact that our political system, our democracy in America has failed us. And so I talk to a lot of Gen Z people and they're like, I don't vote because there's no point, because the electoral college is rigged and gerrymandering and zoning and all these different things. Like where recently we had Donald Trump calling Ted Cruz and telling him to get us 4 more seats in order to have a Republican majority. And even though I don't understand, because Republicans already have majority, but I guess there's a risk that Democrats might overtake because they are doing really, really well in the polls all around, and due to districting maps, like maps that show the different districts and voting districts, which is how you have electoral votes and which is how you have your election results. Okay. And then we have people like what's his name? Gavin Newsom in California, which is a predominantly blue state, saying, okay, then we too can play at that game. If you're going to do that, then we're going to redraw our maps and we're going to have way more electoral votes that are in favor of the blue, which is like, that's great and all, but I think what we should really be focusing on is spending more time flipping Republican people to thinking, at least not their whole core beliefs, but understanding how dangerous Trump is, how dangerous the Republican Party is currently, not always, but currently, and that Democrats are actually trying to help them out. And so when I think of Gen Z people saying there's no point, and then I see a statistic that says that we make up the largest percentage of the US population, I think, why don't we know this? Like, this should be something that I already knew, right? Like, I should have already known that my generation is the largest generation to be currently living in the United States. Meaning, people my age, who are of voting age, those people in my generation who say there's no point in voting, nothing's going to happen, are the ones who literally hold the most power. And then I think about, we're kind of going off track here, but I find this so interesting. And then I think about, whenever you talk about like boycotting this and boycotting that, right? Like I haven't been to Target all year. I think I talked about this last episode, but I haven't been to Target in like a year. Okay. And that is because I found out that like Target rolled back their DEI, Target rolled back, some things that I really believe in. And I think it's wrong because Target this whole time has been profiting off of sort of being the like liberal safe space. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like they do Pride, they do Hispanic Heritage Month, they do Black History Month, they do all of that, right? And then they bring in and they purchase products from Black owned businesses, from Hispanic owned businesses. Like, they do it in a very like ethically responsible way that makes them seem like they are the champions of this community. Like, they are uplifting this community by putting Black owned products in their stores rather than just selling like Black History Month merch, right? Like, rather than Target producing this, what they do is they collaborate with Black owned businesses, with Hispanic owned businesses, and then put their products on their shelves and promote it, right? And so, and I mean, I'm sure there's some fucked up shit that Target's done within that whole thing as well. And I'm sure somebody in the comments will say, oh, well, they did it. I'm sure. I don't fucking doubt it. Enough said. I stopped going to Target. And, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, well, it doesn't even make a difference. Like, blah, 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 blah. I still need to get this. I'm sorry, but, like, I want this from Target. I love this from Target. And I've always just kind of been, like, I've never been the kind of person who's like, you're a horrible person for that. Like, whatever. I don't care. I still shop at Walmart, and Walmart fucking rounded up their employees and let ICE come pick them up without even fucking saying anything. So, hey, Walmart has been funding like conversion therapy for like since I could remember, honestly. But hey, girls got to get her groceries somewhere, and unfortunately Publix doesn't really seem that great of a company anyways, but they are very expensive. So is Whole Foods, Sprouts. Like, all those places are much more expensive. You're going to be spending double if not triple on groceries every single month, and in this economy, baby, we just can't do that. So I still shop at Walmart, but I don't shop at Target. And, you know, in the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, that's stupid. You know, it doesn't really matter. These corporations are fine without you. And then we see corporations like Target, whose stock has dropped, what, like 70% or something, like some ridiculous. I feel like that's kind of a little bit dramatic. But they dropped like a significant amount. Let me see if I can figure out. Let's see. Yep. 31%. Target's stock has dropped approximately 31 to 38% from January 2025 after it rolled back its diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs, wiping out over $20 billion in shareholder value. The significant decline is attributed to consumer boycotts and declining sales and foot traffic, which appear to be a direct result of the company's decision to scale back its DEI initiatives. Wow. I think that that's crazy. That's insane. So then I like look at shit like that. I'm like, dude, you're going to tell me that we don't have the fucking power to shut this shit down? Right? Like, I think of back when the, what was it? Like the truckers? Were they truckers or were they portsmen? I forget. Is that what it's called? Like portsmen? I don't know, but there was like a group, what is it called? A labor union with this guy at the head of it, like fucking Italian ass dude. Like he's not playing, right? He had like fucking hella chains. He's like the leader of this union. And he was like, I will shut this shit down so fucking fast. I will tank the U.S. economy. Watch us. Like, the U.S. government, they're going to do what the fuck we want because we have the power to do so. And like that shit is the energy that young people need to have today. Y'all need to come at it with that fucking energy, because guess what, bitch? I know fucking mama and papa who voted for Trump and are sitting in their front porch with their MAGA hats and they're using their fucking SNAP benefits to go down to the fucking Walmart and their Dollar General to go get their fucking linguine, all right? Their fucking Chef Boyardee in a can, their Campbell's soups, their fucking nasty ass freezer food. All right. I know damn well they're not going to Target. I know damn well they're not the ones spending money in this economy. They're not. They're living off of pensions. They're living off of social fucking security. So, hey, how about the rest of us who are not living off those things, who are actually contributing to the economy? Realize that you have some fucking power. I mean, you have the ability in less than a year to tank a company $20 billion. Because Gen Z, and I'm going to say this again, Gen Z is the largest percentage at 27% of the U.S. population. Now, that doesn't mean that all Gen Zers are of voting age, although I think that officially they are as of 2026. But I'm going to tell you this, baby. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. There's no fucking excuse. And I hate it when people say, and I don't hate people, okay? I just hate it when people say this shit because it's like the ignorance is so loud. Your ignorance is louder than the cheering of MAGA people when they don't give a fuck that you can't afford a house and you can't afford your groceries and they're yelling, Mr. Trump, come save us. That pisses me off when people say, well, there's no point in voting because, like, whatever, they're going to do whatever they want. There's no point in boycotting because, like, it doesn't matter. It does fucking matter. And until everybody wakes the hell up, or not even 27% of the population of the United States, that's it, brother. Okay? A fifth of the population, all you have to do is fucking say. There was also like an article that got put out that like literally just like 10% of like a population of any government could overthrow the government. You don't even need a majority. You just need about 10 fucking percent of people to overthrow a government. I'm not saying that's what we should do. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what we should put in place with that, but I'm sure there's some smart people that have figured it out. But all I'm saying is, like, man, like in this research that I was doing about like Gen Z, and then I'm like, holy shit, Gen Z is the largest percentage of the US population at 27 fucking percent, and we are sitting in our fucking homes on our phones bitching and complaining on fucking Instagram and X and TikTok, and we're like, fuck Larry Ellison on TikTok, but at the same time we're like, oh yes, Daddy Ellison, let me just pump, like, ugh. It's fucking gross. And we have these like spineless ass corporations that are just like sitting around and they're like, oh, yes, Mr. Trump, we'll settle with you. YouTube. What the hell? What the hell? Piss me off. Anyways, that's all I'm saying. I just want to throw that out there. Like, y'all bitches that are always saying like, well, what's the point? Like, we can't do anything. Shut up. Shut the hell up. All right, anyways, let's get back into talking about how Gen Z is fucking lonely. Like I said earlier, Gen Z is 67% of Gen Z reports feeling a sense of loneliness. Okay. I know there's like kind of more interesting statistics because it also said though that like 77% of Gen Z doesn't feel lonely, but then it said like 66.7% of them do feel lonely. So then it's kind of like, okay, what? It doesn't make any sense. That's the thing I don't understand about statistics, and that's why like when people bring up statistics and arguments, like people who do like podcast political shit, like, oh, this percentage of blah blah blah, like Charlie Kirk and shit, it's just like, okay, stochastic fucking terrorist. All right, like I just don't fucking understand. Like, statistics can be very much swayed and can be used to work against any argument, like literally anything, and then still could not be valid. Like a statistic that I learned earlier this year is actually just a weaponized statistic that actually means nothing, which is that men die of suicides more often than women, right? And so I always thought that that meant that, because you hear, well, men die of suicide more than women, then you hear men attempt suicide more than women, men are more depressed than women, men have it harder than women are got it easy, right? But then I'm like, okay, whatever. I low-key think that it was Drew Afualo's like book, Loud, I think, that talked about how, yeah, when you say, no, I feel like that might be wrong. I don't know, but somewhere earlier this year, I learned that statistic is true. However, the truth of the matter is that women attempt more often than men, but men are more successful because they are more likely to attempt violently than women, right? So typically women are attempting versus men are attempting more violently in ways like hanging or guns or a bunch of different things. And that's true. And so, therefore, the actual truth behind the statistic is that men just attempt more violently, therefore they have a higher success rate. But women attempt more often, but less violently, so they have a lower success rate. And I found that to be extremely interesting. Another part that I quoted here says, our research shows that while younger generations experience higher levels of loneliness, they often display an ability to manage its impact, perhaps due to their social engagement. Again, this is where I'm saying, like, they were showing that although younger people struggle more with loneliness, they are more equipped to handle that, right? Versus older people, because usually older people are unable to leave their houses, whether that's financial reasons or health reasons, or just like they're not able to get around as easily, or also they're not as socially connected. And this next part says Vitality research did not assess whether millennials are taking specific actions to combat loneliness, but as a generation, they have proven they can persevere through challenges. This resilience may be the reason even lonely millennials take a more holistic approach to life, prioritizing relationships and health, which increase vitality and acts as a buffer against loneliness. That was crazy. And then back to the depression suicide statistics. This says girls experience depression at twice the rate of boys. Regardless of sex, feelings of loneliness grow alongside depression. So this is saying that, especially like adolescent girls and boys, girls experience depression more often than boys, especially in adolescence. Twice as many, right? And that can create a sense of loneliness, right? So they go hand in hand, meaning younger boys are less lonely than younger girls, right? And again, like this just comes down to like what is behind that, right? And so there's a ton of like different reasons. Obviously, the first reason that every single website that I was researching on listed was social media, right? Because kids are more likely to spend time socially online rather than in person. But it talks about how online socialization shouldn't be and does not replace in-person interaction and connection. It's just not the same. And I agree. I 100% agree. I think it's very important, although like it's great that we're so interconnected, and it even says that in this article. Like it is interesting that we are so connected by social media, but we are also so disconnected from one another. And this is something that I was talking to, I can't remember, I think a friend of mine, but I was talking to them about how crazy it is that I know more about Tara Yummy, who lives on the West Coast in probably like in the valley somewhere and is doing her own thing, and I've never met her in person. I don't know anything about her personal life other than what she shows on the internet. I know more about her than I know about my neighbors, which is crazy. And I see my neighbors every fucking day. And like that is just the truth when it comes to social media. Like we are so engaged with everything else, we're not engaged with ourselves. And that is so, so important. And this is where like this video, this girl comes in when it comes to friendships. I think honestly, the trick to having good friendships as an adult is to fucking put effort in. And like I was listening to the Broski Report earlier today, and she was saying that, like, take the girls' trip, do it, put the effort in, like, get the plans out of the group chat, like, plan something, whether it's, like, just getting together at somebody's house, like, and if people keep canceling on you, just keep trying, like, do not give up, because it can feel super discouraging when people are like, oh, I can't, like, this day doesn't work for me, that day doesn't work for me. Like, I run a book club, and, you know, I have a book club with 4 people that have been consistent. It's me, my friend Felicia, Danielle, and Luz. And like they've all been super consistent coming to book club for the last couple of weeks, and they've all showed up. They've all read every single book, right? Versus there's like 30 girls in our book club group chat on Instagram, but they don't come, right? And then we have some people who will read the book, but then work, they can't come to book club and blah, 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 blah. And so then when I'm trying to plan for book club, right, sometimes it's very difficult to find a day that works for everybody. But I only ever consider those 4 girls' plans, right? Because a lot of them are going out of town in the next like month, and so we had to like kind of switch up the days, and then we're actually doing 2 books this month instead of 1, but we're only reading 1 book this month, and then we're finishing the other one next month, and then blah blah blah. Like it is so interesting to be in this sort of group of people, and you know, they were all kind of like, oh, well, you know, don't plan around me. And I'm like, no, I will plan around you, because the thing is the truth of the matter is I'm not going to plan book club just around my life. Okay. I'm not. right? I am going to prioritize my life because I run the book club, right? So I'm like the one in charge of discussions. I'm the one in charge of like this past time when we were picking books, sometimes we do it a bunch of different ways, but this time I came up with a bunch of suggestions and then presented the group with them, and then we voted on one, right? We picked them. And so like I'm in charge of that sort of thing. I run the social media for it. I let everybody know when the meetings are. And I'm almost at the point where I'm like, okay, what if we just keep it these 4 people? Like no more new people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I would love to have a really big book club, but at the same time, I don't want a really big book club. Like I want a small group of girls who are all going to be really engaged in the conversations, that we all sort of align, and at the same time we have different life experiences that bring us together and that make our discussions super interesting. Like there was things in the last book that we read that I didn't pick up that other people did pick up. And so, you know, they were talking about it and they're like, oh, well, because, you know, back in the day, like with this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like I totally, like it just went right over my head. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even know that. And so I'm really enjoying these conversations. So I'm like 100% I'm going to plan around you, because you 3 besides me have been showing up to book club almost every single time. You're extremely consistent. You bring something really good to the table. So yes, I'm going to plan around you. I'm not going to plan around the other 30 people in the group, and I'm not going to just plan around me to then exclude half of my group, right? Like, oh, well, you can't meet on Sundays. That's your problem. Versus when a new person comes in and they're like, oh, like, are you ever like not going to meet on Sunday? Like I've had that people come up and say, well, can you do it day that's not Sundays? Like I work every single Sunday. And I'm like, okay, but most people don't work Sundays, for one. And if they do, they finish early because it's fucking Sunday. So that's, you know, I just kind of was like, oh, you know, like we'll try, but you know, like I'm not going to change the day that we meet for one new person. And that's what I mean when I say like you have to put the effort in, because, you know, if I was that person that was like, oh, well, then I guess you can't come to book club, you know, and I keep doing that to people, they're just going to not come, because they're like, well, it's never on a day that I can come. And I always kind of try and let her know the days that I can come. And then she never wants to do it those days. So I just stopped going. Like, you know, I don't want that. I really like this group of girls. I've made like 2 new friends out of it. And so I'm really loving them, and I want to foster that relationship. And I think that that's so important when it comes to friends. Like I text my friend Maddie all the time. I don't see her ever. Like we don't frequent the same places as much anymore, but you know, I'll text her and be like, hey, like, what are you doing tonight? Whatever. Like if she's working, I'll come see her at work. You know, if she's not working, I'll see kind of like where she's going to be. So that way maybe we can coordinate. And I've really done that. Another thing that I do is, and I think that a lot of people do this, is you see your friend's social media, but you don't fucking comment. You don't interact on it. You don't message them. You don't do anything, right? So I send my friends memes all the time. I send them memes that I think they would find funny. I comment on their stuff. I swipe up on their stories all the time. I'm very interactive with them on social media. And I think that that's a really big thing with social media. And so I don't know if you guys have ever heard the theory of like, is the internet dead, right? Like how many bots are on the internet? How many of like your likes and comments are real people? How many views on the internet are real people, and how many of them are bots, right? And so it's like a really big question, you know, to present, like, hey, but how many of these people on the internet are real people? Because we truly don't know. And I find it so interesting that we don't actually interact on social media. We interact with public figures and influencers, but back in the day, I don't think that like a lot of young people know this, so I'm going to explain it, but I know that for like people that are my age or older are going to be like, this is the dumbest thing. How do you guys not know this? But Facebook was made for people on college campuses to interact with each other. So back in the day, in order to have Facebook, your college had to sign up for it and then like wait in line to get it, and then your school would get Facebook, and then you could get on Facebook, right? Because you had to have like a school email or something like that. And so it was to interact with your college friends online as well as other college students online. And so that was kind of the whole premise, and people were interacting. Like back in the day, you would get on Facebook and be like, to be rude, you know, blah, 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 comment down below, like comment down below for a rate, like blah, blah. You would send messages all the time. You would be in like live chats. Like we would get on Uvu as a kid and we would just chat all the time and hang out on FaceTime, but before FaceTime was a thing, on Uvu, and we would play games online, and we would like interact online, like truly interact, versus, oh yeah, I saw that you went to New York on your trip, blah, blah, blah. That's crazy because you didn't fucking like my Instagram post and you didn't comment on it. So how the fuck am I supposed to know that you saw it, right? And it's like, don't you think that, I'm a very in-person kind of gal, but I am on social media. So when my friends are kind of like, oh, like you went to New York, I didn't know that. I'm like, bitch, you follow me on Instagram. Like you don't see my shit. Like it's crazy to me, right? And I'm trying to be better at it as well, because I'm not perfect by any means. I'm not a perfect friend. I don't comment and like every single post from my friends. Like I'm not perfect, but I do try to be very active on social media with my friends as well as creators. But a lot of people are solely interacting with influencers, because it's almost like this sense of, it's weird. It's like, you know how I feel when I think about this? It's like when you're talking to a guy like on text, but you see him in person, like in a social gathering, and he doesn't talk to you, and you're like, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you talk to me in person? Like, we were just texting last night. We were on FaceTime last night, and we're at this party, and you're in the same room as me, and you won't even look at me. That's crazy. That's how I feel about it. I'm like, we're literally friends. Like, we're friends in real life, and I see you online, and you don't ever comment or like or interact my shit. And it doesn't bother me for the sense of like, you better be interacting with my stuff. Like sometimes I ask my friends like, oh, did you see the podcast episode? And they'll be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. I just like, I want constructive criticism. Like, let me know when you watch it. I don't really care. But like at the same time, then I have people who I'm not even that close to, who will come up to me and be like, girl, like, this girl I know, Natalia, she told me the other day, she's like, I sent that clip of you on your podcast talking about how your man better be posting it on social media and da-da-da to my man, and he didn't even respond. And I was like, girl, period, And I love that, because I'm like, that's awesome. Like, so cool that somebody in my real life is telling me, number one, I liked what you said. And number two, I shared it with my man. Like, I love that. It makes me feel good about what I'm doing. But it's also like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you're interacting with my stuff. Like, that's awesome. Like, thank you. Like, I wanted to interact with her. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let me check out her social media. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe now I should send her memes and stuff, because I'm like, oh, you're watching my stuff. Like, that's really cool. And I just think it's very weird that we don't genuinely interact with people on social media, other than like just a quick like. We don't comment, we don't send messages, we don't send voice notes. Like, it's very much, we just send memes back and forth, and we just like things. We don't comment and have a real conversation. And I don't know, like, maybe that's something that we need to shift away from with social media. And I was talking to somebody as well the other day about how I think that the future of businesses is going to be community events. Okay. And I think that starting a business in which you're gathering people together, right? And community is turning into a commodity. And I think that it's truly going to be one of the sectors of business and entrepreneurship that will take off within the next 10 years, because people are so disconnected. They are craving those third spaces, those spaces where they can interact with people, hang out, enjoy their time. Like, that is what people are craving and looking for. So I find that really interesting. Now, another big reason that they list on the reasons why Gen Z is the loneliest generation is health problems. So like Gen Z not getting enough sleep, which can cause disruption to your hormones, which can cause, depression and mental health issues. Gen Z not eating enough or not eating the right things. And, part of that is due to like, again, economic factors, but also at the same time, it is a lot of, they're putting shit in our food. They're literally taking fiber out of our food so we're not full as fast. So we eat more junk and, again, empty calories, right? And so we don't have like a healthy gut. We don't have a healthy microbiome. We don't have a healthy state of mind. We don't get enough sleep. We don't drink enough water, right? Like, those are like the last things on our minds. And it's common for young people, because young people are always like thinking that they're going to live forever and that they're going to be healthy and perfect forever. Not me. I'm very much aware. Honestly, one of my greatest fears in life is that I will hit like 45, 50 and not be able to move around and have the energy that I, you know, should be having, because I look at my parents and they're in their 50s, right? My dad's in his late 50s, my mom's in her early 50s, and they have all this they have more energy than me, honestly. And they're very healthy people. Like, they enjoy their lives. They love to drink a little wine, a little beer here and there. They love to eat junk food here and there. But other than that, like, they eat at home a lot. Like, they are very healthy. They work out and they love to like travel and stuff. They like go hiking and swimming, and they do tons of like just really fun, active shit, right? And so I look at my parents, but then I also look at like other people's parents, and I'm like, you look like you're 80, like, and it's crazy. And that's my biggest fear, is getting to like that midlife crisis era, right? Like my 40s and 50s or whatever. And hopefully midlife is like really in your 60s. But, your 40s to your 60s, and not having, the energy and the vitality in you to hang out with your grandkids, hang out with your family, hang out with people. And that's why I think a lot of Gen Xers and boomers are very lonely, and they're not equipped with the tools, mental tools, but also like actual tools like technology and things like that to interact with other people. Which I think is a really big thing, especially the sleep thing. Like, I know a lot of young people that are night owls, and they stay up all night long, and then during the day they like sleep in, but then they have to get up and go to work, and it's like you're not getting enough sleep. Like, I don't know how you function, right? And I already don't even get that much sleep. Like, I get about 6 hours of sleep a night, and I should probably be getting like 10. As a woman, I think it's supposed to be like 10 to 11 hours of sleep a night, and for men it's supposed to be like 8. I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, I don't know. I find it very interesting. So they like kind of list a whole myriad of like health reasons that can contribute to loneliness. And yeah, I found this all very interesting. Like, I highly recommend you go check it out and like look at these studies. And there's tons of other people who have made commentary on them and talked about these studies and cited these studies in their research and things like that in their articles. And I think it's cool. Honestly, I don't think I'm lonely. And I think that's because, number one, I'm in a relationship. I'm in a healthy relationship. But even like Jake and I don't spend that much like time together. Like, we very much work a lot. Like, I think we also have similar schedules, but we also have like our own friend groups, which I think is very important in a relationship. But also, like, for a while there, we genuinely did like everything together, but we never got really tired of each other. And now that we sort of have different friend groups, because fuck them hoes. Bye. Now that we have like different friend groups, I think it's good though, because I have stuff to tell him, right? And he fills me in too. He'll be like, girl, let me tell you this tea. And then I'm like, oh, girl, let me tell you this tea about like people that I don't even know and people he doesn't even know. And it's just very fun. Like, we have something to discuss. I think it's very important to do that, which we didn't do that for a long time. But I think it's good that we do. I also think that I'm not that lonely because I work every single day. So, Monday through Friday, and then also Saturday sometimes, I'm hanging out with my customers all day. I see people all day. I don't have like a stay-at-home job, right? And also when I come home, like, I'm gonna be so dead honest with you. When I come home from work, I usually take like a 30-minute to an hour's like long nap, or not usually nap because I can't really nap. Or I just sit, no phone. Maybe I read, maybe I play some Minecraft, some like mindless stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, just some like decompressing sort of thing. Like, no pressure, no interacting with the outside world, just me. Just me hanging out. So sometimes I like sit down and I read. Sometimes I just like sit down and put my head down and like chill. Sometimes I play Minecraft. Sometimes I listen to music and just clean around my house and just hang out with me, right? And I kind of decompress. And then usually I either go to the gym or I do some sort of physical activity, or I don't. I get some work done. And most times, like after I'm filming today, as a little treat for filming today, I'm going to go hang out at a kava bar, which I've talked about them in the past. They're kind of like non-alcoholic tea lounges where you can get like coffee, tea. You can also get like kava and kratom, which like I think are like, you're not supposed to talk about them on the internet or whatever. You can do your own research into them. Lots of different people have different opinions. I enjoy them. I don't abuse them. I don't have an addiction to them. But I do like that environment because it's a very chill environment. Also, the place that I go to serves blue lotus flower, which is like a relaxing, calming sort of tincture. I think they use it as like a tincture. I don't even know, honestly. I've never even seen it. But other than that, like the kratom and the kava is usually brewed as like a tea or like a mixture, like a drink almost. And then you just like add juices to them and whatnot. And there's also like canned beverages. It's a very popular thing in Southwest Florida, but it's not that popular and it's not legal in all 50 states. So again, do your own research on that. But like that is my social time. And I've met almost all of my friends through that and work, right? Because again, it's hard to find these third spaces where you can interact with people, especially young people, because young people are broke and they can't really leave their houses. But yeah, I think that for me, I'm not lonely because I do put some effort into it. And I also really love alone time. I grew up very lonely. I will say, like, I did grow up the youngest out of 3 kids. My siblings were either always sleeping or in their rooms and like they didn't want me around them or hanging out with their friends. And my parents, they worked a lot growing up. Like they were always working. And so I grew up very alone. Like I taught myself how to cook. I taught myself, how to do my own laundry. Well, I got taught how to do my laundry and then I just like would do my own laundry like at a very young age. Like I was very independent, and that makes somebody like a hyper independent person, and then it's very hard later on in life to lean on others when you need to. But I'm learning, and being in a relationship is also nice because I have a safe person that I feel comfortable doing that with. And so I think for me, I don't experience loneliness, not just because I'm in a relationship and because I do make time to have friends, but even when I wasn't in a relationship and I didn't have time to make friends, I still felt okay being alone, and I still do. Like I've been really craving going on a solo trip recently, and it feels wrong because I feel like I'm excluding my boyfriend from things. I'm like, you can't come with me. But it's not even because I don't want him there, because like I would totally invite him to come with me. But it's also like I don't even want to go on like a big trip. Like I just want to do like a day trip or something and go up to like Tallahassee or something, or take a flight to the mountains and just hang out in the mountains and read for like a couple of days and chill and relax and stuff. And so like that sort of thing doesn't really, like, it doesn't bother me to be alone. It doesn't bother me the feeling of, nobody's around and I don't have anybody. I think a lot of, especially women, which is very understandable, feel lonely and alone because of societal pressures and also a pressure to like be in a relationship when you're a woman. It's very much like it's sold to you as like, if you don't have a relationship, like you're going to have a bunch of cats and you're going to be miserable. And it's like, well, I have a bunch of cats and a boyfriend. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you. But I'm not, like, I genuinely just enjoy my own company. And I find it so interesting when I have friends. I do have friends currently, and in the past, I've had friends that cannot be without a relationship or without a man, like, all the time, right? Like, they've gone from one relationship to the next, like, no more than, like, 3 months between, like, talking stages and this, like, no, they need a man at all times. And, like, for me, my last relationship ended about a year and some change before I even met Jake, right? So, and in that time period, there was kind of like, oh, I had a crush on this guy. There was like one guy I had gone on a date with, but there really wasn't, like, I've never been like a male-centered kind of mindset person, because I think I also grew up in a household where I was told, like, you are not allowed to have boyfriends. You're just supposed to like magically have a husband at 23 and then move out of my house. Like, that was what I was told. But turns out that's not how it works. So I think that for me, that's kind of like what helped me. But I do understand like wanting love and like wanting to be loved, because I felt that way about my parents growing up. Like, I really sought out their approval. And I think that that's kind of like my version of that. Like versus like some girls are really obsessed with like men and the way that men think about them and if their man finds them sexy or attractive or wants them or not. Versus like me, I'm like, I know my man wants me for one. And if he doesn't, like, I don't give a fuck. That's not my problem. But, like, for me, it was always, like, I need to be successful so I can show this to my parents so that they can be proud of me. I think that's very common amongst, like, people with immigrant parents. Like, you have to, like, make their sacrifice worth it. But, yeah, like, loneliness in general, I don't think affects me. And so... But I felt like really lonely as a kid. I felt really depressed as a kid. I was very much depressed. But in a different way, I think. And I don't know, maybe some people can relate to that. Maybe some people don't. They're like, okay, you're weird. Maybe some people don't suffer at all from loneliness. And at the same time, they don't really like being alone. They love being around people. I've always said like people who have like giant groups of friends, I don't know how you juggle that because I'm tired. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. But yeah, like I really do enjoy the company of other people. I just don't think I have that many friends. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with only having a couple of friends that are good friends. So, yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to share this week. I definitely go look it up. I'm going to cite the sources and the articles and stuff down below so you guys can kind of like read them, flip through them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to do Yuck and Yum this week. I'm super excited. First off, we're going to start with our yuck. I listened to the Taylor Swift album. Okay, I know. Y'all are sick of hearing this. I don't hate Taylor Swift. I've definitely seen a lot of takes where, you know, people are saying that, like, this is the result of her being sort of, like, MAGA now and, like, this, that, and the other. I don't think so. I think it's kind of... It does surprise me because it feels that way. I can definitely see why people would feel that way. But then at the same time, I'm like, Taylor Swift is like the girl who took all this heat for defending like the LGBTQ plus community. You know? Like she's taken a lot of heat for standing up to people. Right? And then there's tons of people coming out and saying like Taylor Swift is like an unethical billionaire because there is no ethical billionaires, even though she like gave like $100K to like each one of her employees or something as like a bonus, which would literally be like 0.4%, like less than 1,000th of a percentage of her income, like of the amount of money she has, which I find interesting. I don't really know how that works. I probably agree though. Like I agree that there's not an ethical billionaire out there who stays a billionaire for forever. But I also think, and I will say this, I also don't think that she is like an evil person that a lot of people are making her out to be. I think that she is just what exactly she is, which is a white ally. And sometimes that is a very tight line to a privileged ally. Let me just say that because she has white privilege. She's straight. She's rich, right? So she has like triple threat privilege. And I think that a lot of people in those positions, sometimes they are activists when it's convenient, and when it contradicts their feelings, they will use their allyship in the past to defend things that they've said due to their own feelings and emotions that were in the wrong sentiment, right? So, I don't know. A lot of people are speculating. I don't know that much about Taylor Swift, so I don't know the tea. There was, like, Charlie XCX drama. There was also drama with, like, Travis Kelce's ex-fiance, I guess, and, like, all these different things. So, I don't really know the tea. But specifically, the song Would. Okay? The song Would on her new album really was throwing me for a loop. This girl, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know what that was, and I'm glad it's over. The only song I really liked on there was Ophelia. I like the beat. I like the vibes. That's the only one I have saved. Everything else was just kind of like okay. It very much felt like Reputation, where she's kind of like, I'm a bad bitch, you know, like girl bossing, you know, whatever. Which she literally said, like, I'm not a bad bitch. I'm not a savage. But I'm never going to let you down or something like that. Girl, that was so cringy. Very millennial of her, I will say. But at the same time, I feel like that's just like how Taylor Swift's always been. hate to say that, but I don't feel like there's a big difference in sound or lyrics from her past albums. Not that I'm a big expert, again. Just for me, as the average person who has listened to Taylor Swift, I feel like it's the same as she's always put out, but just a little bit worse. Just a little bit, especially Wood. That one really did me in. But my yum of this week, let me show you. My yum of this week is another book. I am reading A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This book is unlike anything I've ever read before. I think I talked about this in the past, possibly. I started this. Oh, it's wet. I got water on it. It's okay. Just ignore it. I've talked about this book in the past. I started it a while ago, and it basically follows Effie, who is an architect. She's actually in like architectural school or whatever, and she doesn't really want to be an architect though. She really loves literature. She wants to study like writing, and she is obsessed with this story called Angarad or Angarad. I don't know how it's pronounced because I'm reading, I'm not listening to it. But she's obsessed with this story written by this world famous author. And it's called Angarad, and it's about this fairy king who was in love with this woman and their love story, but then also like she has to banish him because he's low-key kind of like evil or something like that. And I don't really know the premise of the story fully yet because again I haven't finished the book and I feel like we're getting bits and pieces of the story. But I'm just saying the first 150 pages a little bit hard to get through, I'm not gonna lie. But once you pass that, I swear, it got so good. It got, like, yesterday, I read, like, 45 pages, and then at night, like, right before bed, I read another, like, 45 pages, which is crazy. And I've just been eating this up. I really love this. I highly recommend if you guys are looking for a cozy fall read. This is more so giving, like, cozy spring, but it can also give fall because it's, like, dark academia vibes. Also, just, like, a beautiful hardback book, by the way. It's definitely giving like dark academia, and I really love the female main character. She's very flawed, but she also has like diagnosed schizophrenia. I don't think they call it that here, but she has like these hallucinations, and she has these pills that she's supposed to take for them. But she's starting to think that maybe she can't solve her hallucination with pills, because they're not hallucinations. So it's very good though. I've never read anything like this. Essentially, she gets contracted to redesign the home of this author who passes away. And 6 months later, they put out an ad for somebody to come rebuild their home because it's quite literally falling into the ocean. So she goes to the home and she meets, I forget what is his name? Preston? Yes, Preston. She meets Preston, who is a literature major, like somebody who's trying to do a research for his dissertation. And then she finds out that he's there to do some other digging, and they end up having to work together. It's definitely like a little bit of a romance plot, not very much going on yet. I mean, I'm a little bit past halfway through. I'm at about like 350 pages. So I've only got about 120 pages left in the book. So we'll see if it ends up turning into a romance. I'm sure it does. There is a second book and I do own it already, which I'm very excited to read. But yeah, this is my yum of this week. I love it. It's very cutesy. It's very cozy. It's an easy read. It's not too complex of a world. It's not a fantasy world. It's like a normal world where people don't believe in these urban legends, but the Southerners do. And so then they go to the South where this author lived, and then it's very like creepy. And Ava Reed's writing is just so like descriptive, and she really knows how to set a scene. She really knows how to make you feel like you're in this creepy house, and it's like wet and gross and like decrepit, and like the son of this famous author is kind of a weirdo, and like he's described as like literally looking wet all the time, and he kind of like has these like weird moments that he kind of comes in and out of like consciousness, and it's very interesting. Love it. Love Ava Reed's writing, and I love Effie as a character. I think she's very cute. She's again just obsessed with like this author, and like she idolizes him, and she's, you know, just discovering some things. So yeah, highly recommend you check out the book. But yeah, that's it for me this week, you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I will see you guys next week with another episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Everything will be linked down below. Comment down below what topic you want me to discuss next week. And yeah, love you guys. Bye.